A woman is accusing Sean Diddy Combs of and her when she was 16 years old in 2000.
In the meantime, let's go back to New York City. Want to get some updates on the case that is unfolding there regarding Sean Diddy Combs.
Let's delve into one of the most shocking twists in the ongoing saga surrounding Sean Diddy Combs. The mysterious disappearance of his mother, Janice Combs, has left everyone stunned. What could have driven this devoted mother, who has always defended her son publicly, to vanish without a trace? This is a story brimming with intrigue, whispers of scandal, and a web of secrets that could change everything. Buckle up, because this wild ride into the heart of a family crisis is as gripping as it is puzzling. The shocking news broke earlier this week. Janice Combs, the matriarch of the Combs family, has fled the country. Yes, you heard that correctly. The woman who has staunchly supported Diddy through his tumultuous career and recent legal battles has seemingly disappeared into thin air. Her departure wasn't just sudden, it was shrouded in secrecy, leaving even her closest allies scrambling for answers. And let's be clear, this isn't a simple case of someone taking a long vacation. It feels deliberate, calculated, as if she's running from something or someone. Let's rewind a bit. For weeks, Janice had been vocal in her support for Diddy, releasing statements that painted her as a heartbroken mother, one who believed in her son's innocence. She called the allegations against him a public lynching and urged the public not to judge before hearing his side of the story. It seemed like she was ready to fight tooth and nail for her son. So why would she suddenly disappear? That's the million-dollar question, and the answers might just lie hidden in her past.
That kind of environment growing up in is going to have an impact on a child growing up. Now, it doesn't make excuses for what people do in adulthood, and the form that can take really depends on a lot of different things, including things such as what are the family values? Are the family values about, being open and honest about things, or if there's trauma in a family, do families deal with it, or how is that child raised?
Let's start with the rumors that have been swirling around Janice Combs and her connection to Diddy's alleged misdeeds. For years, there have been whispers about the wild parties she hosted at their family home in Mount Vernon when Diddy was just a boy. These weren't your typical neighborhood gatherings. According to childhood friends who've spoken out in recent documentaries, these parties were far from ordinary. Tim Patterson, one of Diddy's longtime friends, described those nights as chaotic and deeply unsettling. He claimed that it wasn't uncommon to stumble into rooms where children were exposed to activities no young person should ever witness. Patterson even suggested that growing up in such an environment might have played a role in shaping the behaviors Diddy is now being accused of.
According to the Rolling Stone, the doc features an alleged childhood friend of Puff's, hip-hop producer Tim Dog Patterson. He alleged that Janice, Diddy's mom, would often throw parties at Diddy's childhood home. He says that during the parties, it wasn't uncommon to walk into rooms where adults was having that was just their normal.
But here's where things get even murkier. Janice has always been portrayed as a fiercely protective mother, someone who worked relentlessly to give her son a better life. She sent him to private schools, kept him dressed impeccably, and even moved the family to a more affluent neighborhood after the tragic loss of Diddy's father. So how does this image align with the stories of those wild parties? Could it be that she was simply trying to provide for her son in the only way she knew, even if it meant turning a blind eye to the chaos around her? Or was she more deeply involved in that lifestyle than anyone ever realized?
Talking about the parties, Tim says, verbatim, that's what we were privy to. This was what we were fed. Was it desensitizing us? I'm sure it was. Were we aware of it? No, that was just Saturday night. In the doc, per Rolling Stone, this type of childhood is alleged to be why Tim, the longtime friend of Diddy's, Puff believes that Puff found himself in the position he is in now.
And let's not overlook the timing of her disappearance. Just as the pressure on Diddy's legal battles began to mount, with more accusers coming forward and damning documentaries airing, Janice suddenly vanished. Coincidence? Highly unlikely. Insiders are already speculating that her abrupt departure might be an attempt to avoid being dragged into the legal mess. After all, if those childhood parties were as wild as people claim, who's to say she wouldn't be called to testify? And what would she say if placed under oath? But the story doesn't end there. According to some sources, Janice didn't just slip away quietly. She reportedly took a significant amount of money with her, money that Diddy could desperately need to cover his mounting legal costs. If this is true, it raises even more questions about her motives. Was she fleeing out of fear, or was she cutting ties and securing her own future while she still could? Either way, her actions have left a huge hole in Diddy's support system at a time when he needs it most.
I think another question that we just can't ignore is the role of power. Because one question is, how does somebody become the way they are? And then another question is, how are they allowed to stay the way that they are? And I think that also speaks to this kind of, lack of accountability.
It's even more puzzling to witness the impact of her departure on the Combs family. Already thrust into the media spotlight due to their father's legal troubles, Diddy's children are now grappling with the additional blow of their grandmother's abandonment. Janice, often seen at red carpet events and family gatherings, has always been a central figure in their lives. Her sudden absence has left the family reeling, with one insider describing the dynamic as completely shattered. It's hard not to wonder how this will shape their perception of both their father and grandmother going forward.
Everyone keeps saying to me, like, how did you keep, why did you keep going? Why were you there? I'm like, it literally is around me. If I don't stay at home, this is the atmosphere I'm in. Like, I have no choice.
Here's where things get even more complicated. The FBI is reportedly keeping a close eye on Janice's disappearance. Although she hasn't been charged with any crimes, her connection to Diddy's case could make her a person of interest. Some insiders believe it's only a matter of time before her name is added to a wanted list, especially if it turns out she's hiding information crucial to the investigation. For now, her whereabouts remain a mystery. Some say she's in Europe, while others believe she's somewhere in the Caribbean. Wherever she is, Janice has managed to stay off the grid, a feat not easily achieved in today's hyper-connected world. Let's consider the broader implications of her escape. For starters, it paints a troubling picture of a woman who might not be as innocent as she appears. While she's publicly defended Diddy, her actions suggest a story of self-preservation and perhaps guilt. Could it be that she knows more than she's letting on? And if so, what does this mean for Diddy's case? Her absence could make it harder for his legal team to argue that he's a victim of circumstance when one of his biggest defenders has seemingly turned her back on him. Then there's the question of legacy. Janice has always been a symbol of resilience within the Combs family, a single mother who raised a mogul against all odds. But her sudden disappearance threatens to tarnish that image, casting a shadow over everything she's worked to build. It's a stark reminder that even the most carefully constructed facades can crumble under pressure. As the story continues to unfold, one thing is clear: Janice's escape has added yet another layer of complexity to an already chaotic situation. Whether she's running from the law, the media, or her own conscience, her actions have left a trail of questions that may never be fully answered. And while Diddy prepares for the fight of his life, he now has to do so without the woman who has been his rock for over 5 decades. The ripple effects of her disappearance are just beginning to be felt, and the consequences could be more far-reaching than anyone ever imagined.
Actually thought that he was above the law, so I can only, think that, he was sloppy in the way that he did these crimes, that there's probably a trail of evidence, not only involving him, but everybody in his circle that he would, delegate these responsibilities to. And those people are when they're...
Let's delve into Diddy's legal battles. To say they're piling up would be an understatement. The charges he's facing are not only serious, but also seem to grow more damning by the day. Allegations range from coercion to accusations of orchestrating elaborate gatherings with questionable participants. The list feels endless. And that's just the criminal side of things. On the civil front, lawsuits are raining down like a storm. Attorney Tony Busby is reportedly representing 120 accusers. Yes, you heard that right, 120. That number alone is enough to make anyone's head spin. While Diddy's legal team has been working overtime to deny the claims and paint him as a victim of exaggerated accusations, the sheer volume of cases is impossible to ignore.
I feel like we're almost becoming numb to the lawsuit after the lawsuit after the lawsuit. And do all of the allegations against Combs so far that we've seen make the claims here, these new claims, do you think it makes it more or less true?
How does Janice's sudden departure fit into all of this? It's not just a blow to Diddy's emotional support system. It's a logistical nightmare. Let's not forget that Janice was one of his most vocal defenders. Her public statements, where she described the allegations as a public lynching, were a cornerstone of his defense strategy. She was the family's moral anchor, the one person who could vouch for Diddy's character and upbringing. But now, with her vanishing act, it feels like even his closest allies are jumping ship. While no one is outright saying it, the whispers are growing louder. Could Janice's disappearance signal that she knows something the rest of us don't? Is there a piece of this puzzle that hasn't been revealed yet? The intrigue deepens as the mystery of her whereabouts continues to unfold.
And because the 8 people in the videos, the 8 celebrities in the videos, were allegedly victims of crimes. We know who they are, but we will not be naming them, famous or not.
Financially, things are just as dire. According to insiders, Diddy is facing a cash flow crisis that could jeopardize his ability to mount a solid defense. Legal battles are not cheap, and the high-profile nature of his case means he needs the best lawyers money can buy. However, Janice allegedly took a significant chunk of his remaining funds when she fled, stretching his financial resources thinner than ever. Let's not forget about the settlements. While Diddy's team insists that settling certain lawsuits doesn't equate to an admission of guilt, the payouts have reportedly been staggering. Each settlement chips away at his fortune, leaving less and less for his defense.
Well, first of all, I can only imagine how sloppy Sean Combs was with evidence when he got busted with those 2 machine guns or 3 machine guns with the altered serial numbers. So I really don't trust Sean Combs or the people around him's ability to properly cover up anything. So I envision that you're going to see a trial, payments from his Amex for flights for people, straight payments directly from his company to people.
The financial strain isn't limited to legal fees. Diddy's business empire, once a symbol of his success, is also showing cracks. From his music label to his fashion ventures and spirits brand, everything seems to be under scrutiny. Sponsors are pulling back, partnerships are dissolving, and public perception is shifting. Even some of his most loyal collaborators are reportedly distancing themselves, unwilling to be associated with the growing controversy. It's a domino effect, and the fall of one piece threatens to bring down the entire structure.
Time frame is important because this happened in hotels, in places that have surveillance, that there's records that could be consistent with his testimony about when he alleges that these parties took place. He probably has his own information about who attended the events. When you're somebody like Sean Combs and you're such a celebrity and you're engaged in this type of behavior, people around you are memorializing it on their own.
Then there's the family dynamic, or what's left of it. Janice's disappearance has left a void that no one else seems able to fill. Diddy's children, who are already grappling with the media circus surrounding their father, now have to deal with the added stress of their grandmother's absence. Let's not forget that Janice has always been a central figure in their lives. She was the glue that held the family together, the one who showed up for school events, red carpet appearances, and family vacations. Her sudden departure feels like abandonment, leaving the family reeling. One insider described the atmosphere in the Combs household as tense and fractured, with everyone walking on eggshells, unsure of what's coming next.
And he is very, very dominant. Like, he wants to control the situation. He wants to control his inner circle. He wants to make everyone have a good time and enjoy his parties. And so, it is scary because you think, this person or possibly his social network or the people he's around could make or break your career.
The emotional toll isn't limited to the family. Diddy himself is said to be struggling with feelings of betrayal and confusion. According to sources close to the music mogul, he's been questioning why his mother would leave at such a critical time. Some speculate that her actions have left him questioning everything he thought he knew about his own upbringing and the people he trusted most. It's a devastating blow, and it couldn't have come at a worse time. What's even more fascinating or troubling, depending on how you look at it, is the role of public opinion in all of this. Diddy has always been a master of controlling his narrative, using his charisma and influence to shape how the world sees him. But this time, the narrative seems to be slipping out of his hands. Social media is ablaze with theories and speculation, with hashtags like Diddy Downfall and Combs trending almost daily. Some fans are rallying behind him, insisting that he's the victim of a smear campaign. Others, however, are less forgiving, pointing to the mounting evidence and asking how much more needs to come out before people start believing the accusations.
But it will be up to the jury. And there's really another piece of this case, and that's the racketeering case. And they don't really talk about that. Diddy's attorneys, Sean Combs' attorneys, they stay away from the racketeering part of this. They are focused solely on the trafficking part of this case.
Let's not overlook the documentaries that have been hitting streaming platforms like wildfire. From Peacock's Diddy, The Making of a Bad Boy, to Discovery's The Fall of Diddy, these exposés are painting a picture of a man whose empire was built on a foundation of secrets and scandal. Each documentary seems to bring new revelations, new witnesses, and new reasons to question Diddy's legacy. While his legal team has dismissed these films as one-sided and sensationalized, they can't deny the impact they're having on public perception. After all, in the court of public opinion, perception is reality, and right now, the reality looks grim.
Well, certainly there's a lot of information that needs to be substantiated, investigated, and those kinds of things. But when we look at people who become offenders, we oftentimes see early exposure to whether that's or actual behavior, and we oftentimes see that within the family.
One of the most damning aspects of these documentaries is how they connect Diddy's past to his present. Childhood friends like Tim Patterson have come forward with stories suggesting that the seeds of Diddy's current troubles were planted long ago. Patterson's accounts of wild gatherings at Janice's house, where anything seemed to go, have only added fuel to the fire. While Diddy has always been open about his rough upbringing and the challenges he faced, these new revelations cast his past in a much darker light. It's one thing to overcome adversity. It's another to perpetuate the same behaviors that once caused you pain.
You know, if you say the wrong thing or you complain or you know, I don't know, there's an element where you're just, I guess manipulated in a way to make you feel like, oh, you have to please everyone around you. You can't say anything wrong. You don't want to say a bad thing, or, you know, when they're constantly asking you, would you like to do drugs? And you're like, well, I don't do drugs. And they're like, well, why don't you do drugs?
Even more chilling are the testimonials from former employees, ex-partners, and industry insiders. These aren't just random people off the street. They are individuals who were once part of Diddy's inner circle. Their stories paint a picture of a man who used his power and influence to get what he wanted, often at the expense of others. Whether it's former girlfriends recounting troubling encounters or employees describing a toxic work environment, the narrative is consistent. Diddy was a man who thrived on control, and when that control was challenged, things got ugly.
So remember when I said Diddy mother might be the originator of the freak-offs?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so apparently tomorrow there's the Peacock is dropping the Diddy documentary. It's called Diddy, The Making of a Bad Boy, and the doc gets into Diddy's childhood and his experience growing up in connection to the lawsuit and assault allegations he's currently facing.
Let's not overlook Janice's role in all of this. While she's often been depicted as a loving but flawed mother, her sudden disappearance raises questions about how much she truly knew. Was she aware of the allegations against her son before they went public? Did she indirectly or directly enable some of his behavior? And if so, does her absence indicate guilt? Or is it simply a desire to protect herself? These are questions that may never be answered, but they add another layer of complexity to an already tangled story. With the trial date looming, the stakes couldn't be higher for Diddy. This is no longer just about clearing his name. It's about saving what's left of his legacy. But with each new revelation, every lawsuit, and now the added mystery of his mother's disappearance, the road ahead seems increasingly unclear. His empire, once a symbol of triumph and resilience, now feels like a house of cards on the verge of collapse. And yet, despite everything, there's still an air of uncertainty. Will Diddy be able to turn things around? Or is this truly the beginning of the end for one of hip-hop's most iconic figures? Will Janice resurface to explain her actions? Or will her disappearance remain one of the biggest unanswered questions of this saga? As the storm rages on, one thing is certain, this story is far from over. In fact, it feels like we've only scratched the surface. Stay tuned, because if there's one thing we've learned about the Combs family, it's that their lives are anything but predictable. As this drama continues to unfold, one can't help but wonder what's coming next. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more celebrity gossip and compelling stories. Until next time, stay curious.